Welcome back to Alt.tistic, the most retarded political social commentary show on the internet. Oh my gosh, that was loud.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I think it's just in my ears. Um, yeah, I'm your host. You threw off my freaking groove. I'm your host, Garrett Inman. My co-host is back with us this week after
¿Cómo está?
not coming in last week because he decided he would rather sleep.
Yeah,
Because he's
definitely wasn't working on
lazy
getting
bum.
a food pantry set up in Saline County.
Don't virtue signal here, bro. Davey Gibson. And then we got, of course, our producer, Zach Babb. How are you guys doing today? I'm asking you. I'm not asking the audience.
I had my my house raided this weekend. That was tons of fun. FBI showed up.
You know, something similar happened to my buddy Eric.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, our former president of the United States, Donald J. Trumpulus.
Wait, what, really?
Yeah, man.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
It wasn't on Twitter at all.
You know, despite working in politics and being a politician, he doesn't actually know what is going on half the time.
I have memory loss, but it's like every day is a new day. What's that?
Yeah. Biden? Being Biden?
Yeah, there you go. Problem solved.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as we found out, 2 weeks ago, he attended the funeral of the man who introduced Clinton to Epstein. So,
oh, yeah.
You know,
fun.
even people actually in politics are ignorant to what's happening. Anyway, yeah, that's the big news story of the week. I was trying my best to keep up with every new story that came out because this happened, Tuesday? So this was the day after we posted our last episode. So this is just like the entire week of what's been going on. But before we get into that, since we started last week out with a fun little meme, a fun little TikTok, and Davey was not here to witness it, I found another TikTok for us. And it was stitched with another video. When I first watched it, it was not didn't have that accompanying video. So it was just this lady's response, which made it all the more funny to me because I had no context as to what she was talking about. This is video 8.
Okay. This message is to all our would-be accomplices.
You might want to turn it up, yeah. This one? Yeah, that should be it. If it doesn't play, it doesn't play.
This message is to all our would-be
Bro, are you serious?
No tango sound.
No tango sound. Oh, well, I'll just play it on my phone, I guess. Because why not? 3, 2, 1.
This message is to all our would-be accomplices and white allies. This message is to all the white people who have BLM in their bio. If you really want to prove to black people that you love us and you care about us and you are down for the cause, do not go see that movie opening weekend. You buy your ticket.
Oh my God! I've seen this. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then you go sit at that theater in front of the doors. You make sure that every black person in that theater can enjoy that movie in peace. You make sure that you use your body to block us from anybody who would be coming in that theater to do us harm. That is your job. You can go see it on another weekend. Go see it on the second or third weekend. But the first weekend, that's for us. To do anything other than this is anti-black.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you ensure that a movie will fail its opening weekend.
Or that you'll get more white people on opening weekend than ever recorded.
So what she's saying, in all seriousness, is she wants black people to be separated from white people.
Pretty much. I mean, she wants black people in the theater. Or no, she wants white people outside of the theater doing like Hands Across America, freaking barring any other white person from coming in. So I don't know how that'll work. It's just like, you want.
Then you're hating on your own race. Be like, yeah, brother, what's up?
The other thing too, I feel like that'd be confusing because if you show up to participate in this and they're just like, no, you can't come in. It's like, no, guys, I'm here to help you. I'm here to, and they like just beat you up. It's like, you shouldn't have come here, whitey.
Cracker.
Yeah, and then like a nice black family shows up to watch like Bullet Train or whatever. and they're like, oh, let us let you in, let us carry you to the Black Panther 2 premiere, and like the Black is like, what? No, I don't give a about that. I don't care. I'm here to watch this family movie.
We're here to see the Minions.
We're here to see the Minions. I don't care about no Black Panther 2. They killed Chadwick Boseman. So
R.I.P.
I found that TikTok so funny because the way it started out, I was like, oh, she's gonna propose like some stupid social change, but it's literally, if you want to be a white ally to black people, don't go see Black Panther 2 opening week. And instead just stand outside of the theater to make sure all the people that just really hate us and are coming here to kill us is specifically for seeing Black Panther 2.
Well, you had to have a ticket to even get in front of the theater. So don't you have to technically buy a ticket to that movie in order to block that theater?
I suppose so, because
So then,
outside of that, that'd be loitering.
and they're
right?
not gonna let you do that at the. So this lady's condoning loitering. She should be arrested.
Well,
Yeah.
to be fair, she
Call
did
that
say to
violence.
buy the ticket, but then give it to a black person and stand outside
True,
the
a
theater.
poor black person. That is charity. You know, use your money
Yeah.
to buy a ticket to Black Panther 2, which
Not
is a
food.
part of Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which most people do not care about anymore, and most of the box office returns have not been great. So we're going to buy tickets for this movie and give it to a homeless black dude on the street. You know, remember the trend back in the day when these guys filmed themselves giving money or whatever to these homeless people? Yeah, it's gonna be like that, except it's gonna be these rich white elites walking up to a homeless black dude who can't make ends meet. He's like cradling his last loaf of bread, and they walk up and go, "Sir, we'd like to give to you." And then they hand him 2 tickets to Black Panther 2. It's like, first off, not only is it insulting that you walk up to a homeless man and give him movie tickets, but you give him 2. Like, who's he gonna take?
His imaginary friend.
Yeah. He's gonna take his blow up doll. That's what he's gonna take.
It's crack pipe.
His free crack pipe from the government. But yeah, just a little bit of fun in the sun before we actually get started into the more serious topics. So the FBI took it upon themselves to raid Mar-a-Lago in Florida, at Trump's residence, while he wasn't there. And I mean, we just have a lot to go over, and I'm not entirely even sure what is real anymore, because we've had maybe 5 official explanations as to why they did it. They're like, oh, well, we're looking for documents he stole from the National Archives. And then they're like, well, actually, he has information on Russia or something. It's like, pick a reason and stick with
Well,
it.
see, for me, that's a giant red flag that they're all full of crap. I mean, like,
Yeah.
they don't have a real reason that they raided Trump. They raided Trump for political gain. You see this in third world countries all the time when they're in power. They use their resources to attack their political opponents. And now that you've seen that in a democracy in America that's supposed to be, advanced and not a third world country, here we are, acting like a third world country.
Yep. Shoot. I decided to watch a video that Ron Paul did talking about this, and they showed a video of him from like the 90s talking about how the FBI was specifically designed for things like this. And what you notice is most of these organizations that are overreaching right now and are suddenly getting all this power that they should not have constitutionally or otherwise were all founded in the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
The early 20th century. In the span of like a few years, suddenly the IRS pops up, FBI, CIA, CDC, all these
The
organizations.
Department of Education.
Yeah. All these organizations that have so thoroughly screwed us over as a country suddenly pop up under the purview of what's his name? Woodrow Wilson. I almost said the name of a buddy, or not a buddy of ours, but a kid we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, all these organizations just somehow start to pop up under a dude who, by all means, was not only like a freaking white supremacist, like a closeted member of the KKK, pretty much, and a guy who really liked having power. And no one notices that, and we just we're just like, screw it, we'll just keep him. And now we're in an era where the CIA is just randomly kidnapping people and killing children overseas. The FBI is raiding the former president because he might have documents that he declassified so he could bring them home legally. And we have the CDC telling us what we can and can't do with our bodies and giving us poor medical advice. That, like, strictly enforcing poor medical advice. It's not like, hey, don't eat that dog poop on the sidewalk. It's like, hey, there's a virus going around. We want you to take this rod and just ram it down your throat real quick, and you'll be fine. This giant 12-foot metal rod, we want it to be sticking out your back. That's our medical advice. And I think, Zach, you were telling me before we started recording that, like, the CDC just had an incident where...
No, that was Davey.
Oh, that was Davey. Yeah, the anthrax thing. Friggin' tell us about that, because I didn't hear about it.
The 80 CDC people were exposed to anthrax because one of the people decided that a Ziploc baggie was a great idea to store that stuff in. Spills out of the Ziploc baggie. He gets it on his gloves, I'm assuming, because if it touches his skin, I'm pretty sure you explode or combust into flames or something like that. Picks it up, puts it back in the baggie, and then with that same hand, closes the fridge, exposing anybody and everybody who comes into that room to anthrax. And it's like, you're the people who set the standard for the disease and how to control it? Really? Sad day, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know how people... This group pops up out of the middle of nowhere, swings in and tries to tell us, hey, got to get this jab, got to get that jab, you got to wear this mask, you can't go here, you can't go there. Why? Well,
Yeah.
What actual proof do you have to tell us how to do? Because, the other side that's saying it doesn't matter, they have proof. They have scientific proof. They have medical research that they've done. And they're like, this is bad news bears. All these 25 and under are dying from heart attacks and from cardiac arrest and other cardiac diseases.
Didn't you hear that? That's from depression. That's from sadness or loneliness. That, like, there's a new news story that every week of just people are randomly dropping dead because their goldfish died and they were sad. They just also happen to have a certain jab in their system as well.
It's just a coincidence, though, right?
Yeah, it's just sudden death syndrome. That's what it is. We're just suddenly dropping dead. It's a heat wave. Like, come on.
I saw where they blamed the heat wave. They said that child obesity increased like 80% because of the heat wave, and the guy on ABC was like, "No, these kids sit in their house and they play video games and they eat all day. They don't go out and play." He said, my mom kicked me out of the house every day and said, "Go out and play." And she'd lock the door. I'd come back and eat and I'd play. But that's you want to know why your kid's fat? It's because all he does is eat honey buns and play Fortnite. That's your fault.
See, I'm a disgusting Zoomer. So I grew up in the transition of this, from going outside of your house and playing and having fun. My early birthday parties were hanging out. We did we had a neighbor across the street from us, and at night we would play capture the flag, and I think the cops got called on us once. But you would hang out outside, you would do things outside, but then slowly video games started gaining prominence. YouTube was introduced in 2005, and now I'm at a point where, since that's what the transition was, that's what I do a lot. I love playing video games. I love watching TV. I love freaking sitting around and eating. But I also recognize I got to, at the very least, get out of the house at some point during the day. I also have a job that allows me to socialize. We do this kind of stuff. I try to make an effort to reach out to people to do things. But I mean, you have kids nowadays who don't know how to interact with people. They were shut down for a full year, and then they go back to school, and they all have to wear these masks that we have studies that show that they can no longer register facial behavior, so they cannot process how to communicate with other human beings. And now they're just going to be kicked out into the world here in the next 4 years, and they're not going to know what to do because they cannot, for the life of them, communicate with people.
Right.
they don't know how to communicate. They're not going to want to spend time with people. Um, and I mean, it's gotten to a point where like I went out to take the dogs for a walk like a couple months ago, and it was like I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just taking the dogs for a walk, listening to a podcast, and I turn the corner and I see my little brother, who is 11. I might have done the wrong math. I'm pretty sure he's 11. But he's 11 years old. He's a little husky, but he was outside hanging out with some of the neighbors' kids, and they were running around the little block that we live on. The street I live on is kind of just like a circle, one giant cul-de-sac, like oversized cul-de-sac, and they were just running around the loop, and I was like, dang. This is encouraging. This is pure Americana right here. Just kids running around and having a good time, goofing off. I'm taking the dogs for a walk. I bump into another dog walker. We let the dogs meet each other. Then kids come over and they want to pet the dogs, and we're talking. Like that's pure Americana right there.
That is.
Like you can still have your video games as long as you know they're not supposed to be all you do during the day.
Exactly. Like weekends, I play video games more than I do a lot of other stuff, but it's because I've got free time. Most of the time I'm trapped in the house, I'm not doing anything, but it's because Monday through Saturday I work 50 hours a week. I'm doing stuff, and then when I get off work, I got other stuff I got to do. So leisure time is great, but you got to understand the difference between what's leisure and then actually pouring your time into something that can then bear fruit. Like you got to get something from what you're doing. Like I play Apex all day long, but I don't reap any actual physical benefit other than maybe if I'm playing with my friends, I get to socialize with them. But.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but for me, I get very antsy when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, I love watching movies. I am a freaking cinephile. I have a Letterboxd account. I log and rate every movie that I watch. But it gets to a point where, like, I don't want to just be sitting inside all day. Like, my body just goes, this is not like productive for you.
Right.
There was a day last week when I had to go into work later in the afternoon or later in the evening, and I had nothing else lined up for the day. I made myself a steak for lunch, worked out in the morning, but it got to the point like around 2 or 3 o'clock where I was just like, I was watching the Terminal List, and I finished an episode, and I just said, I really don't feel like watching another episode. So I went out and freaking ran a couple laps around the block, came inside, took a shower, and went into work an hour early because I was just like, I can't do this. Like, as human beings, we are very social animals. We have this driving urge to be with people. We have a driving urge to be around people. But the way the last couple of years have perpetuated under the rule of the CDC and Dr. Fauci and Deborah Birx, it forced us to not be social. And I'm not talking about talking over Zoom or having Zoom meetings. That's not being social. That's the same as being in an Xbox lobby chat.
Exactly.
You're not 9 times out of 10, you're not going to build meaningful relationships out of that. There's always the 1 out of 10 story of the guys who will like go 200 miles out of their way to meet each other, and at some convention they become lifelong friends. But that's a 1 in 10 situation. Right. You cannot rely on that being your social life, because then you're not going to build anything meaningful. Ooh. Anyway, back to the FBI stuff. I mean, if you followed the story at all, I'm sure you got some of these updates. I know there's been some debate and speculation as to the real reason the FBI were doing it. I've seen some people say, oh, it was because of January 6th. Megyn Kelly was one of the people trying to push that. Chris Cuomo was out there going, oh, guys, this isn't a good idea. We shouldn't do this. It's like, clearly he's not standing up for Trump. He's more like, he saw that and he was just like, oh, they could do that to me.
Right, exactly.
It's like, sure, if they go after Trump, I might be next. They ousted me out of office. This could be the next step. Oh no, guys, I'm one of you now. Please don't do this.
Please don't hurt me.
Then I've also seen some other people speculate that this isn't because of January 6th. This is actually because January 6th is currently falling apart as we speak.
Correct.
The hearings, nobody's watching them. No one cares. This is what they thought was going to be this massive push to make people afraid of one side of the political spectrum and completely mistreat and improperly prison people who, for all intents and purposes, just like took an unsolicited tour of the Capitol.
Exactly.
Like the worst I saw was a broken window and poop smeared on a wall.
Let me take you down this rabbit hole real quick,
All right.
right? So, January 6th was set up by the FBI to make conservatives look insane. And, we know it's the same thing with the guy that supposedly sat outside the FBI and was trying to kill him or had a
In
bomb in his
Cincinnati,
car
yeah.
outside of the Capitol on January 6th. It's all bullcrap. They want you to, hey, and so now, with what you said, raiding Trump, if they want January 6th to actually happen, it will.
Yeah.
Because you're going to push 80, 100 million people to the point where they're ready to go to civil war because they're tired of your crap.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest thing that's happened in our lifetime and politically in the past 100 years, and in the United States anyway. I mean, we don't have revolutions. We had all those when World War I, World War II, and the Civil War. We're supposedly past all of that, right? And so now we're at the point where you have two decisions. You either comply with the people who are shoving this crap down your throat, or you stand up. And if you're the ones that are standing up, get ready, because the time has come. I've always seen those things on Facebook where it says the only reason they go so hard after Trump is because he's the last person standing between you and the government attacking you.
That's what he made his freaking campaign on. But yeah, you look at January 6th, the biggest thing you can look at to know that this is not what the media tells you or what certain politicians tell you is false. Literally just look into Ray Epps. That's all you need.
Yep.
You will find
Exactly.
video after video of him in crowds yelling at people going, "Tomorrow we're going to storm the Capitol." And like everyone goes, "No, boo, fed. Like obviously these people were not out to freaking storm the Capitol. And if they were, and this guy's sitting here telling them this is what we need to do. He goes to the Capitol January 6th, whispers to a couple guys, and they immediately charge the blockade. And this man's living comfortably out in the middle of nowhere in like Montana or Wyoming. He was on the most wanted list for like a couple months before just inexplicably being taken off. FBI refuses to talk about him. But we're gonna prosecute Baked Alaska, who was there just to film it as a freaking journalist. We're gonna go through Elijah Schaefer's emails because he was there as a journalist with journalist credentials. We're gonna go after Grandma who shuffled through there with her little granny legs, holding an American flag. Those are the real enemies of the of the state, like legitimately. But what they're trying to tell you is like, those are your real enemies. Ray Epps, the guy who's sitting here yelling that we need to storm the Capitol. Ray Epps, I ain't ever heard of him. I don't know who he is.
They'll come after Alex Jones and Trump, but they won't prosecute Hillary for wiping her server of 33,000 emails. They won't go after Obama for taking those nuclear records whenever he left. They won't go after Epstein Island, who had an island full of children that he came and brought politicians to rape and have their way with.
Yeah.
They didn't prosecute Joe Biden or his son for smoking crack. They didn't prosecute George W. Bush for when he went in the Middle East and didn't have an exit plan. There's so many things that actually happened that
Sorry, I was trying to get Zach's attention.
No,
Keep going, baby.
There's so many things that are actually happening that need to be taken care of that they're turning a blind eye to. And that's how you know. I mean, at some point in time, people have to wake up, right? It's...
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to...
No, you're good.
Pull up a picture because I actually had a picture. Picture 6. I was going to try to discreetly pull it up without distracting you.
You're
but
good.
it's hard to communicate silently with this. It's not like we have a fancy studio where I can just shut off my mic and be like, hey, go pull this up.
Yep.
So we have picture 6. And for those listening only, this is a list of 25 things the FBI could have and should have been prosecuting other than raiding Trump's house. And I mean, obviously, it's 25, so I don't really feel like reading through all of it. But just to name a couple.
14. Look at number 14. Read that one
14.
out loud for me.
The FBI to see if it infiltrated the Trump campaign with informants.
I would bet every amount of money that I have not made yet in my whole entire life that they will never investigate themselves, let alone
No.
the people that have been
They are
victims.
investigating themselves.
right
They're
now, for
investigating
this.
Trump's property for the documents that implicate them.
You get
Yeah.
my point. Is like they would never actually. They make it look like they're doing
Yeah.
something.
But I
and-
mean, you look at this. First off, Hillary Clinton for the Uranium One deal. You got the Clinton campaign for supposed Russian collusion. You go through there. Freaking Biden for participating in a treasonous coup. Anything with his dealing with Ukraine should be investigated. Even if it's just his son and he doesn't know, that's still enough for you to investigate. I mean, you go down the list. You got FBI agent Peter I can't even say that name. Strzok? I don't know. But you have this giant list of people: James Comey, Andrew Weissman, Google, Elijah Cummings. All these people and companies and organizations are engaged in illicit, illegal activity that is borderline, if not treasonous, outright. And the FBI refuses to look into any of that. But we're going to raid Trump's mansion because of a couple pages from the National Archives. That's the explanation they gave. If we take that at face value, even at face value, that's not worth it.
no,
And that makes zero sense.
it's still the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. It would be just as ridiculous if it was like, hey, we're going to go raid Obama's house because he stole Shrek from the freaking the National Library or whatever. I forget what it's called. The National Film Library. Every year they induct like 2 or 3 movies into it, and it's like a part of the National White House film library.
I would be surprised if Shrek was in that
It
catalog.
is. It is. I can
am
guarantee
surprised.
it. Shrek was inducted into the National Congress Film Library or whatever it's
I think
called.
the person got laughed at that proposed that. They were like,
Probably.
Shrek? Drake?
Maybe. Or maybe it was foreshadowing to the fact that they live in a swamp.
Shrek is love, Shrek is life.
Yeah. That when Trump ran, they all got pissed out and were like, "Get out of my swamp!
What are you doing in my swamp?
What are you doing in my swamp? Don't clean it out." But yeah, the freaking FBI sucks. This is what they choose to prioritize because we know that Trump can implicate them in wrongdoing. It just so conveniently happens right before the time where you can announce your candidacy for the next presidential run, and they want to push a law. They want to charge him with a law that could feasibly, if prosecuted, can prevent him from running for president again. All of this, and I think I lean more with the side that this isn't about January 6th. This is because January 6th is failing.
Exactly.
Because no one cares. So they're trying to find some other way to get Trump, to stop Trump from running for office.
Because they know if he runs against Biden or whatever Democrat they decide to put up, they're going to be like, even the dumbest Democrat, even the person who is so deep in that liberal bullcrap puddle can realize, wow, gas was a lot cheaper when Trump was in office than it was with Biden. And they know 100% he would win.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that they're realizing that people are getting more and more galvanized for Trump. They're getting more and more galvanized against Biden. People are starting to regret voting for him. They voted for him because Trump's a meanie and I don't really like him. He's a jerk. He's a racist, whatever. And they voted for Biden. Now they're realizing, as they're reaping so-called rewards from this, they're realizing, oh, we messed up. We want Trump back in office. So they're realizing this. So now they can't rely solely on lies because more and more people are waking up to the fact like, Biden sucks as a president, or whoever has their hand up his butt and making him talk. But they're realizing that he sucks as president, so they're being galvanized for Trump. Not really DeSantis. I know DeSantis has a massive following from the conservative side, but I think Trump is now becoming unilaterally the person people are gathering around. And I know we talked about who we would want to win. Me personally, I don't really have a side or another. I know that's a whole debate on the right. But I think after this, personally, for me, it galvanized me for Trump. I'm like, F DeSantis, let's go Trump all the way, baby,
See, me personally, I see DeSantis as what Trump was supposed to be, because I like everything that Trump did when he
Mm.
was in office. I get that he tweeted stupid stuff that didn't bother me. That was never
Yeah.
a problem. Y'all know where I drew my line with Trump, and y'all understand why I drew my line with him. But again, if it comes down to Trump or Ben Carson or Trump and Jeb Bush, it's going to be Trump. I'm
Yeah.
not a complete moron who's just going to be like, no, I'm petty.
Yeah.
I would much rather succeed. But I do believe DeSantis is the exact same type of fiery, punch you in the face and not care about it, but he also has real morals. And I don't say this as a negative against Trump,
Yeah.
but we all know, I mean, his past life, the things that he's done, and then
Yeah.
all that other stuff. And I'm not saying that
That he can't change.
that
But,
right, but
yeah.
my point is the actual Christian values that are held by DeSantis versus the political values that are held by Trump. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. I just lean towards more DeSantis because I know for a fact
Yeah.
that he is a Christian. I'm not saying that Trump is not or he is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's my own. I know it's a
Yeah.
little rabbit hole, but I like DeSantis a lot. I just
Yeah.
think that this is an opportunity for him to not sit and do nothing. If he opened his mouth and would stand against this, he would grow his following, and I think more people would kind of gravitate towards him.
Yeah.
But I mean, Trump's never had a problem to call it like he sees it. DeSantis has just got to get on that ball and start
Yeah.
calling crap out.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, in terms of like Trump's, I'm not 100% sure if he is or not. Like he says he kind of is, but the thing is, these past couple years, he's becoming a lot more outspoken. I mean, he's been pressing hard on the past couple videos I've seen him do. He's been pressing hard on like, this is a nation under God. We need to go back to God. So I think he's, at the very least, he's recognizing that's who his base is, and that's something
Right.
he needs to start outwardly saying more. Because you see guys like Joe Kent, who is kind of going, well, I don't want to incorporate Christianity into my platform. I want to do more inclusive populism. It's like, okay, cool, you're trying to appeal to people, but the fact of the matter is, what's going to fix this is running on a Christian platform.
Exactly.
Even if you do get elected, that's not going to help us. That's not going to help this country to just be like, well, I like inclusive populism. I
'Cause
think
it's
we
the same
should get...
thing that we have right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a more mild and less radical version of what we're doing. You're just trying to be like, well, I think the lefties are kind of crazy, and I think we should limit the power intelligence agencies have. Cool,
It's like
but like that doesn't help us.
in Florida when they made it against the law for, I think it's kids 5 and under to have a sex change.
Mhm.
DeSantis was pissed, and he
Yeah.
said, I don't want it to be 5 and under. I want it to be 18 and under. And that is what we need on the conservative side. That's what we need to fight the Democrats, because you never hear a Democrat say, well, we only want gay marriage. We want gay marriage, we want trans rights, we want all this other nonsense bull crap.
Yeah.
Why short yourself? Why not just that's like what you said with that guy. You have to be some type of political and stand on that rock, 'cause
Yeah.
that's what God said to do. He didn't say build your house on sand.
Yeah.
Build it on a rock and stand on it and be proud of it.
Yeah. But writing this DeSantis line, he did put out a tweet in support of Trump and saying like what the FBI is doing is wrong. However, I did see a tweet from Red Eagle Politics. I don't personally follow him a lot. I don't actually have Twitter, so I just get tweets filtered into my feed on other social media platforms. It's Photo 7. And he put out this tweet, which is something that I was thinking. I might not have had the full story. I think our TV froze over here,
Yeah,
so
I
I'm just
love
gonna
that.
read the tweet. Is
That's
it still all good over there? All right, as long as it's running fine over there.
Right.
It's just on an unflattering picture of me. I'll just go ahead and read it from my phone. But this is from Red Eagle Politics on Twitter. I'm sure he has a pretty good following. So he says, where the hell is Ron DeSantis? State officials are not subordinate to the FBI. And maybe if DeSantis was actually a threat to the system, he'd get off his fat ass and do something instead of being a lazy POS and allowing the FBI to raid Trump's house. And
What is he supposed to do?
he's against DeSantis, but I will say this. Depending on how fast they did this, because that's the other thing. Depending on how fast they did this, I would think that if you are DeSantis and you really want to stand against this, you're going to deploy your local, at the least the local PD, to surround that house and go, you're not leaving here, or get out. Like something to just make a stand and say, this is not okay. This is not constitutional. This is my state. We are not subject to these random raids. You can't do this. Get the hell out. And it made me curious as to why he didn't do it. Granted, once again, the FBI could have galvanized really quick and just like sprung this operation, searched real quick before anyone realized what was going on. I will give them the benefit of the doubt, but I do think that poses an interesting
I
question.
mean, I know it was like what, like 9 or 10 hours that they took to like raid the house. They went through there like every single inch of that house. I don't know if anybody ever showed up, but I mean, I also don't think that he ever knew. I mean, until it was too late, because by the time that they're in there, it's like you're gonna get into a fist fight in somebody else's house. Like,
Yeah.
No, well, I heard that the attorneys, like Trump's attorneys and his lawyers and whoever, showed up to the house, but they wouldn't let him inside. And I think Eric Trump and somebody else.
It was Eric Trump and the attorney, I believe. Well, I think they might have even been on the premises when it happened, and they kicked him out.
this, in my mind, when you're dealing with corruption, it doesn't matter. Like, if you fight back against corruption, it's great and all, but like, if you don't have enough people to finish the war that you start, then
Yeah.
you're done. So I
Yeah.
think a lot, even if DeSantis did know, if he sent his people down there, it's gonna create total another chaos.
Yeah.
Because there is no, and in my mind, and this is gonna sound nuts to a lot of people that listen to this, but there's one way to get out of the situation we're in, and it's war. I mean, we have to go take it back.
Yeah.
There's no other option, because if we sit here and we don't do anything, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
Me trying to go fight and get elected and go to Capitol Hill to try and represent the people of Arkansas to some degree. I'm one vote surrounded by total morons. French Hill's a moron. He's not going to do anything to help
Yeah.
us out. Tom Cotton, he would help, but I think I'm praying to God. If there's anybody from Arkansas running for president, let it be Tom Cotton. Like, don't let it be Asa. Don't let it be Lanny Fight. Just if there's anybody from Arkansas, I'd rather it be somebody who is aggressive and has that ready to go. He's got his military background, and that's what we need. We needed the business to get out of the rut from Trump, and now we need an Eisenhower. We need a George Washington to say, hey, strap up. Let's get it, man. Because
Yeah.
I feel like if DeSantis would have shipped people out, we would be in a civil war right now.
Yeah.
Because everybody, if I'm Trump's neighbor or if I'm in Florida and I see that going down, I'm showing up.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go, bro. Like, get
No,
the FBI out of here.
yeah.
Let's
People
go.
did. There was a whole
There was a whole
rally
freaking-
outside.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of people showed up with Trump flags and all that.
Don't show up with Trump flags. Show up with a GUN.
They probably did.
Yeah.
I'd have been waving that around. Like, what are you gonna do now, you FBI loser?
Yeah.
I love that
Uh,
it's still frozen.
I-
Can that
I
be
know.
the picture that we put on YouTube?
Yeah, we're not doing that. Yeah, no, I do think I think we're still a couple steps off of like complete and total war. We're still in the middle of like metaphorical war or whatever. But we are having wins in states. We're getting more and more states on board. What we need, and what I stressed the past couple episodes, is we need the people to be aware of certain crap. Right? The people of Arizona, they woke up and they said, F it, we're getting Kerry Lake in office, we're getting Blake Masters elected, we're getting all these people who know what's right for this country, who know what needs to be done, we're going to get them in office, and now suddenly Arizona is going to be turned hard red. We already have Florida. What we need is to refortify these red states, so at the very least, we know we're safe here as we fight on the federal level, because if we only do all-out war on the federal level, that's not going to help us back home.
Never.
Why this has gotten as bad as it has, and why we get snakes like Asa in office, Abbott in office, people like that in these supposedly red states, is because people don't pay attention to what's going on here. Every time you turn on the news, it's always Fox or CNN, and it's always what Biden or Trump is doing.
Right.
You never really tune into KATV and what KATV or whatever the other news channels are. My dad used to work for KATV. That's really the only one I know. KARK, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 7, whatever. All they talk about local news is somebody got shot in Little Rock, or hey, here's a cuddly little puppy.
Right? Yeah, that's
You
it.
know, like that's all
Here's
local news
sports.
is pretty much. Yeah. Here's Steve with the sports. Hey, I'm Steve with the sports. Woo pig suey. Back
Back
to
to
you.
you.
Yeah, like that's all it is. There's hardly ever anything of substance in terms of what's going on that impacts you in the state. They'll talk about national news sometimes, especially when it came to the COOF. But when it comes to, hey, what is Asa Hutchinson doing now? No one cared until COVID happened.
Right.
And then everything that came out of his mouth was gospel. And he's just sitting here going, well, I just want to take my time and I guess figure out. So we're going to play it safe. I'm going to tell you to wear the mask and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, we need someone who's going to stand firm and be like, hey, your freedom matters. The Constitution in which this entire state and country has been founded on matters. The fact that the rights that we have are given by God matters. God, in and of himself, is the most important thing we need to be living for. And they need to lead like that. We can't just have these wishy-washy, like, and I hate to, well, what's the word I'm looking for? I hate to slander Protestants because we are all them, but we cannot have these wishy-washy Protestants, probably and most likely non-denominational if we're being honest, or Methodist. Love to my
Yeah.
Methodist viewers, and my non-denominational.
Denominational.
My grandmother is a part of a non-denominational church, but the reason they went
Shots at your
non-denominational.
grandma then, huh?
Well, I love her. She know. We've talked about it. The reason her church is non-denominational is because they were Methodist, and then the Methodist church started going like, "Yeah, we're gonna have gay bishops, woo!" and their pastor said, "Yeah, we ain't doing that. We out." And they dropped out, and they're just like, "Screw it. We're just gonna go non-denominational, I guess." So they're basically just like a mixture of Baptist and Methodist from the times I've attended. So. They are. That's the only non-denominational church I'm fine with. I'm not down with these new agey like God is love, man. Just love everybody.
Yeah, dude.
Now let's pray to these God crystals.
Far out, man.
Far out. Like we don't need those kind of people leading our states. We need people who are going to be strong and be like, God is real. Jesus is real. He died for our sins. Came back to life 3 days later.
There are two genders.
There are two genders. Our rights are given by God. We cannot, as a state, take away your rights. So we're not. We're going to take away the laws that tried to take away your rights.
And if the federal government tries to step in, we're going to prevent that. That
Yeah.
should be their job.
Yeah.
But no.
Let's build a wall around Arkansas's border. Let's
See,
do that.
If I was governor during COVID, we would have been segregated, bro. We would have pulled out. We would have been. We would have
Negative connotation.
Not
Segregate,
not
you mean seceded?
seceded crap.
That's going to be clipped. If I was
Um,
governor during COVID,
No, we're not going to segregate the state by race. We would segregate the state from all the other states. We would
Yep,
Secede.
Clip
secede.
that
I
one
forgot
out.
the word again.
Hey, the last time that happened, though, there was a civil war.
Yes.
Look, yeah. I don't have the same takes as a lot of traditional right-wing or conservative people have on the Civil War. The way I view it and the way I've read through some of the history books on it is basically the Confederacy just said, "Oh, the North hates us. They're passing laws that just to deteriorate our economy, not even like based on slave things, just like, oh, they rely on cotton. We're going to make cotton cost a lot more to export. So now they're going to have to like waste more money trying to export it. They're going to have any imports directly reroute to the North. The North sells it to the South, stuff like that. And just because the North doesn't like the South, like kind of the whole elitism thing that we have going on now. So the South just said, all right, screw it. We're just going to leave. Like, you're hurting us financially, economically, culturally. Like, as states, we're not going to be able to stay afloat with the way you guys are treating us. So they left, and then Abraham Lincoln said, wait, hold up, you can't do that. And then they sent soldiers down to occupy forts, and then getting into tiffs. And then you have, it was Fort Sumter, right? You have the freaking battle at Fort Sumter where you had military, I cannot think of words today. You had military occupation, and they refused to leave. At this point, they were a separate country. So it was foreign military occupation on your shores, and they will not leave. They refuse to leave, and that's what sparked. It wasn't just, oh, we want our slaves, and oh yeah, we hate black people. Blah. Like the reason they fought for the slavery thing. Like, first off, let me preface this: slavery bad. All throughout history, we've had slavery. We still have slavery out in the Middle East. Slavery by no means is a good thing. The issue is that the South mistakenly built their economy on slavery. So to try to get rid of it immediately is not something that is economically sound. So if you got rid of slaves, suddenly not the bedrock, but a very important Jenga block at the bottom as to which their economy was built on, it's going to fall apart. What the smart thing would have been to do, and what a lot of the slave masters and what a lot of the plantation owners wanted to do, was gradually fade out slavery as a practice and go with more ergonomic field tending methods. But they could not do that because the North, Lincoln could not stand people not wanting to be a part of America after the government punishes them. But also because I completely forgot what I said. I just had a brief moment of Bidenism. But basically, the Civil War was basically Lincoln not standing states that he politically punished, leaving the country.
See,
And then it just, during the wars, Lincoln was like, oh, well, shoot, slavery. We're going to free the slaves. Yeah, I love black people.
I feel like that's part of the reason he went down there was because it was like, you got these people who are trapped and enslaved and they're at the bottom of the food chain. And it's like, if he's not going to do anything about it, if he just sits there and he doesn't do anything, then we don't get to this point that we're at in our country where we, granted, the 50s, 60s, 70s, really rough, really bad time to be anything but white. Like, it was horrible. And we still struggle with it in certain parts of Arkansas. It's not going to magically go away. You're going to have horrible people.
Yeah.
There are racist black people, Asians. That's not the issue. That's 10% of the world. But I think the reason that Lincoln did that, I mean, who else is going to do something? Mexico, what are they going to do? Like, throw dirt at them? Like, go away. No, like, somebody had to do something. I don't know. I wish there was more.
I'll say this, there was a cleaner way to do it.
Oh,
and
yeah, definitely.
The path that happened was a completely messy way to do it, but it wasn't really based on slavery. It was just based off of
He was like,
essentially classism. Essentially classism, and the North hating Southern people because they were Southern. So, like, a different form of racism.
what was
but
it wasn't the Republican Party that there was at first. I can't remember what they used to call it.
there's like the Democratic Republican Party, but that was before Democrats and Republicans.
It was the party that Abe started, and I know we technically became the Republican Party. There was a word for it, and I think it's where GOP came from. But what does GOP stand for?
I do not remember.
I don't know.
It wasn't the Union.
Well, no, because there's no U.
The Party of Lincoln. I can't remember. There was a word. I don't know.
Yeah.
That I've been trying to think about that ever since you said Lincoln. I was like, what was the name of it?
But yeah, I'm gonna go off on this little rabbit hole now. But I think the Civil War almost speaks to the liberal ideology as a whole. They want to fast track utopianism, which in and of itself is impossible.
Correct.
But they want to fast track grand scale utopianism, but clearly that hasn't worked, and if anything, it has backfired and almost retroactively molded this ideology into, now they're the party that automatically assumes black people are poor. Now they automatically assume that women are this, or white people are this, Mexicans are this. Like that's what they've become because they have this entire idea in their head, like, we're going to create this uber utopian. And that's just not how you change society. That's not how you change culture.
That's how you get votes.
Yeah, it's one person at a time. It's got to be a domino effect. You can't just like drop a bowling ball in like a domino setup. And that's what they want to do every single time. The well-meaning ones, the well-meaning liberals, the well-meaning left-leaning people, not the actual people in charge, because they just hate you.
Like my grandpa was, I wouldn't say he was hard left, but he was Democrat, and a lot of it came from, he was in the union. I mean, he worked for AT&T most of his life, and he was a union guy. And so, Obama came around, and all his friends and all the people that he worked with were like, we get to have a black president. And he saw it as he was doing something good because CNN told him and all these other people said, you're doing something good for black people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he saw it as. And then Obama got in office and had to do a job. And he said, oh,
Yeah.
like I made him. And then the second time around, I don't know. I guess it was Romney. No, it was Romney that ran against him the second time.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't like Mitt Romney, but I don't like Obama. And that's, I would say at least 50% of the Democrat Party. I mean, they really do just want to help people.
Yeah.
You got Republicans who are good with money, and you got Democrats who are good with feelings. I myself, if yes, I'm a Republican, but
Yeah.
as far as the way that you treat people,
Mm-hmm.
I may actually be left because I do care more about people than I care about finances.
Yeah.
And that's the more liberal side of me because I learned that from him. You care
Yeah.
about people first. But that's the problem with politics.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
it's
yeah.
divisive and they want you to hate the other person even though you're 99.99% the same.
Mm.
They want you to focus on that 0.01% to hate your neighbor.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it works.
the issue comes in is to continue to harp on it. We're no longer a Christian country,
Mhm.
so empathy and kindness and love has been twisted in popular culture by people in charge and people up the elitism ladder to where there are, I mean, I know people who are left-leaning who want to be nice people to each other. The issue is love and kindness is not being nice. And what gets twisted is, yes, there's a lot of people who align with Democrats because they're more empathetically leaning. They want to be more empathetic. They want to connect people on an emotionally resonant level. But the issue is because they're kind of more in tune with emotions and that's how they tend to go, suddenly policies are being made about them. Suddenly people up top are just like, we don't even have to present the facts. We're just going to say, oh, a black man just got murdered by a white cop. We got to get rid of cops. It's like that. No, wait, hold up. No.
To harp on your point, this is a real Bible verse. It says, 1 John 4:8, but anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love. That is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you cannot love your wife, your girlfriend, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your friends, unless we love because he first loved us.
Yeah.
And that is the core of every issue that we have in this country and on this planet.
Yeah.
If you want to fix this country, wake up on Sundays and go to church.
Yeah.
If you want to fix this country, when you go to work, tell people that Jesus loves them. Don't be afraid to tell them the truth because if God is the truth and if God is love, then that means in order to love someone, you have to be honest with them.
Yeah.
You have to be truthful with them. And people are afraid to hurt feelings. I would much rather hurt your feelings to have you come back 2 years later and be like, you know what? I was pissed at you, but what you said resonated with me. I went to church on Sunday. These people helped me out, and now I've fixed my life, and I can't
Yeah.
thank you. And I'm like, don't thank me, thank God for giving me the strength to be able to tell you what the truth was. And it
Yeah.
all comes back to God. It's just a big circle.
Yeah. This is something I've talked about with people that I know, that there's this scale of Christianity that people are living in. One side is the truth, one side is love. People want to lean in on both ends. I'm going to stress these are distortions of both words. It's not true biblical love or truth because the true biblical love and truth is the middle. But what people want to do is they want to lean into the love and they want to be Democrats and they want to lean into that and it's like, well, love is love. We shouldn't judge people. It's not up to us to judge. Yeah, judgment's in heaven, but while we're here, that doesn't discount us from going, hey, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. Not only just on a moralistic level, but that's going to hurt your life. You're not going to go down a good path. So people want to lean into the love of just into this distorted secular version of love of, oh, well, love is love. They make each other really happy. Oh, but, he just wants to kiss another man. Oh, but he just wants to chop off his wee-wee and put on fake tatas and all that kind of stuff. And it's like that's not how you should be living. But then on the other hand, you have people who live with this distorted version of the truth, and they go, oh, well, here's the facts. You're going to hell, and you're going to burn in the fire. It's like, that doesn't help us in either. Because now you're not saying this out of love. You're just saying this because
Out
you
of
want to
hate.
either piss people off or you hate them, and you're like, oh, like Westboro Baptist is a perfect freaking example
Mhm.
of this. Of these people who just like they go to freaking veterans funerals, and they're like, oh, he's burning in hell. How does that make you feel, grieving family? Or the whole like God hates word I cannot say on YouTube. They like go around to that and it's like,
5 6.
we hate you, God hates you. No, you're distorting the truth in
Mhm.
order to just fuel your hatred. And what true Christians should be doing is approaching people one on one is much more beneficial and fruitful than like doing what we're doing essentially. But more useful than going out in a crowd with a megaphone or screaming at Congress or whatever. It's much more useful and fruitful to sit down and have one-on-one conversations and just say, hey, I love you. Because first off, you're building a relationship, so you establish there's some sort of, not like romantic love, but a true human to human love. And you say, but this is the truth, this is what you need to be doing with your life. Hey, I noticed you moved in with your girlfriend. That you shouldn't do that. That's not good. Not only on a moralistic level, because that increases the temptation of sex, but you look at the statistics, and people who move in with each other before marriage tend to get a divorce a lot more than people who don't. um, so you got to be able to approach people one on one. You got to be able to talk to someone human to human. And yes, it's fun to troll crazy leftists. There are people who might be a little too far gone.
Yeah.
And there are people who are full on just, whether they know it or not, servants of the devil. And the one thing the devil hates the most is to be mocked. So sometimes you're just going to call certain demonic things out and make fun of it, point and laugh, because that's how you get across your points. But if you personally know people one on one, you got to invest in that. You got to invest your time in building that relationship. You got to invest that time out of love and in concern for their soul and for their life, not just because, well, I want them to be happy. You got to meet them on a human level, tell them the truth, but lace it with, because I'm concerned for you. I'm telling you the truth because I love you, not I'm telling you the truth because, well, you're a filthy degenerate, and not, oh, well, I love you, so I'm not going to tell you the truth, because that's distortion.
That balance that is where building your house on a stone and
Mm.
not on sand comes into play, because if you don't have total and utter confidence in what you're saying, you're going to screw up, or it's going to come across wrong. But I mean, if you really do care about somebody and you're like, I don't want to tell them that this is wrong because I don't want to hurt their feelings. This relationship means so much to me. I've known them for forever. If you really care about that person, you would have already have done that. Or
Mm.
you care about that person, you just don't have your house built on that stone, so you
Yeah.
need to start constructing. And you're not perfect, but
Yeah. And
taking
yeah, go
take
ahead.
that first step,
Yeah.
and just say, hey, you know what, man, I love you, but I got something I got to be honest
Yeah.
with you about. It's been eating me up.
Hmm.
It might not go how you have it in your head, but at least you've got that off your chest that, hey, I did what I was supposed to do. I
Yeah.
did what I was called to do.
Yeah. And I want to add too, it's not wrong to struggle with those feelings.
No.
Like, if you're feeling that conviction, that's good, because you have to tell them, and you're trying to find a way to do it. Because I know personally, I got a buddy who I hang out with him a lot, and I'm concerned for him. He's gotten into alcohol before. He's gotten into, and this was like as a minor. He became a drunk as a minor, but got over that hurdle, and now he's switching on to other different types of substances. He never leaves his house. He's always playing video games. And what me and another one of my friends is doing is we're wrestling with a way to try to tell him we're being confronted with the word I just said before. I cannot for the life of me remember words today. Conviction, that's the word. Jeez. When you're being faced with conviction, you're struggling, you're trying to find a way to fit it into conversations. You're trying to figure out what the best way it is to approach it. If that's the part of the process you're at, that's not a bad thing. That means you genuinely care about them, and you're trying to find a way to tell them. What we're saying is to just accept it and just move on with it. That's not okay. that's not how God's calling us to live, because we are humans and a lot of us hate confrontation. A lot of us hate uh, pissing people off. We don't like people mad at us, and that's okay. We're humans. What we need to do is to work on the process of overcoming that fear, and work on the process of overcoming our sinful humanity and pursuing godliness.
See, I think you just said it right there is fear. And
Mm.
that's the number one thing that people struggle with. And I think of all of human time is they're afraid to jump off the airplane to go skydiving.
Mhm.
They're afraid to start their first day at their new job or school, or that fear. If you can conquer fear, you can do anything and everything you want to do in
Yeah.
life. If you have no fear whatsoever, you're going to fail. But that's
Yeah.
part of overcoming fear, is saying, you know what? I'm going to ask this girl out, and she might reject me, but you know what? That's fine. And that 10 out of 10 will be noticeable to
Mhm.
her,
Yeah.
versus if you're like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, hey, hi, how are you doing? No, that's
Yeah.
not gonna work. But if you're like, hey, baby girl, how you doing? You know, it's gonna go. It's gonna be totally different.
Yeah.
Just if you go up to your friend and you're like, hey, you know that lifestyle that you live, I don't like it. And okay, what? Or but if you go, hey man, you know what? You're my brother. I love you. Cut that gay crap out, because that will send you straight to hell. I
Mhm.
love you, and I get that you struggle with it. And when you have that temptation, call me. I've had to have this conversation with people before, and it's
Mhm.
about alcohol or about whatever, because they have gotten to the point where they're so reliant on it that they can't live life without it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I've struggled with my life in many different things. And the best thing to do is to be honest about it. You find somebody in your life that you can be honest with. And
Mhm.
that is your start. And then build off that person, because God's going to put somebody in your life to help you grow. You just got to be smart enough to figure out who it is. You got to put work in to figure out who it is. We have free will for a reason. He's not
Yeah.
just going to magic.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how God works. Sorry.
No. No.
I wish, like, $1 million. See, nothing.
Yeah. It's a process. Being a person is a process, and what you gotta the process is progressing towards God. And yeah, I think you hit a lot of what's going on the head right there. There's that fear element, because it's it, 9 times out of 10 it's never going to be as bad as you think it is.
No.
I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I have a little brother. He's 11 years old. He just had to deal with his mom dying and his dad getting remarried, and then the whole family uprooting and moving about an hour away, having to go to a new school, having to live with a new family with step siblings, stepmother. That is incredibly scary. That's an incredibly scary process, because within the span of 3 years, your entire life has gotten flipped upside down. And he is someone who is a very fearful person. But every time we've made him do something, and we've stressed every time he's afraid to do something, every time he doesn't want to do something. He didn't want to go to any church camps this past summer. We made him go. He went. He had a great time. It's just overcoming that hurdle, or just having people who are gonna push you out of the plane and just say, all right, you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna make you do it.
It's like dads who push their kids into the pool after they've
Yeah.
been teaching. You see those videos. They're not just pushing a kid who doesn't know how to swim in a pool.
Yeah.
The kid's just afraid to get in the water.
Yeah.
That's what part of being a parent is hey, get
Yeah.
out there, dude. Do something.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not just pushing them in the pool. It's pushing them in the pool and then getting in there with them,
Yep.
just in case the 1 out of 10 incident happens where things go bad.
And to show them that you're going to be there for them
Mhm.
whenever they're afraid in the next situation.
But you
and the
also
one
have,
after that.
you also have to learn to do things on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, the situation I'm at right now, I'm still living at my childhood home, while my entire family is now living on their own. So I've been thrust into a situation where I have to upkeep a 3-story house, and I have to cook for myself. I have to provide for myself, and eventually I'm going to have to start hunting houses for myself and move into a completely new house and a completely new living situation. You just have to kind of throw yourself in the tiger's den sometimes, and well, I guess lion's den's the more apt
Tiger's den.
illustration, but throw yourself into the lion's den, and you never know. Sometimes them lions going to be hungry, or sometimes you're going to be Daniel, and you're going to be like, these lions are chill. I'm just going to hang out with them. God's going to provide for me. God's going to see a way through for me. And I know we've been harping a lot on God and Christianity this episode, and I mean, that's just who we are.
Right.
But I mean, even as if you're an atheist, still learn to be self-reliant. Learn to throw yourself into the lion's den, and learn to just stare down the tiger. I want to say tiger. Stare down the lion, right? Like most dog attacks happen when you're afraid when you're afraid
Yeah.
of the dog. You approach a dog confidently, even if it's at barking at you. I'm not recommending you do this, especially if it's certain dog breeds. But if
So you're doggist.
I'm not doggist. I just know that statistically, despite making up 13% of the dog population, pit bulls commit about 95% of all
I feel
violent
like
crime.
this conversation has shifted from dogs to something else.
No, like 90%. I'm 90% accurate on those statistics.
That is funny.
But even with a pit bull, I had to make a freaking food delivery the other day, and there's a pit bull sitting outside of the house, and it was staring me down like it wanted to attack me. I put my fear aside, and I walked up to him and I said, "What's up, bud?" And he just looked at me and like calmed down. I pet him. I put the food by the door, and I walked away. The dog recognized when you're not afraid of it.
Yep.
You know, the dog will feed on fear. Your situations in life will feed on your fear. The more afraid you are, honestly, the worst things are probably going to go for you.
I can't help it. Every time I see a dog, whether it's little bitty tiny chihuahua or it's a great big Great Dane, I'm like, it's a puppy. Give me the puppy.
Yeah.
Come here, buddy. Let me
Yeah.
pet you. And one day I'm gonna get my hand bit off,
Yeah.
but I'm not afraid of a dog. Like
Yeah.
90% of the time, that dog is just either protective of the people that it's with. Well, yeah, I'm also not gonna stick my hand in a car door if the dog's growling at me. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's just a dog.
Yeah.
Like, if you're, it's just like with anything. It's just a pool. It's
Mhm.
just a first job. It's just
Yeah.
work. Like, just
Yeah.
do it, and then you'll be like, oh, why was I so afraid of this? That was stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a new school. It's just a new house. It's a new city. New experiences.
It's just another body.
Yeah, I know that very well. No, but yeah, don't be afraid to fail. Live fearlessly, but also, live with discernment, right?
Right.
Fearlessness is not just I'm going to throw myself into a pile of spikes because it would be scary, but no, I'm not. It's being smart with the actions you take.
What is it? Is everything is good in moderation?
Yeah.
Being fearless or being powerful or being jealous. Like in moderation, not maybe not jealousy, but I mean in certain situations, if you were slightly jealous of something, it could spark you to work harder. But there's a reason we have all these different emotions. You've
Yeah.
got to learn how to control them. And once you do that, I think that's most of what really growing up is understanding how to control your emotions and how to not overreact or how to
Yeah.
not underreact.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Life's one of those scales, right? You gotta balance everything out. You gotta balance everything out. I had a thought and I complete this happens to me a lot. I lost my thought.
It's all that cocaine, bro.
I know. No, no, all right, I remember. So yeah, live fiercely, but be discerning. But yeah, don't be afraid to fail. Over the winter, this past winter, I went and worked on my first movie set. I also got to flex on people by saying that, but I worked on my first movie, and it was intimidating. I had to drive myself out of state to Oklahoma City, so not super far away, but I had to go to a new city I've never been before and work with people I've never met before. The only other time I've been out of state to do something by myself was in Dallas, but I was working with people that I've known for at least 6 months. With this, it was just I had to walk onto set and be like, "Hi, I'm Garrett. I've never worked on a movie before. I honestly don't know what I'm doing," and I got comfortable enough to where like there would be moments where I'd have an idea for the direction of a scene, and I'd say, "Hey, what if we do something like this?" I mean, they'd immediately shoot me down because I'm a boom operator, but the point is like I got to the point where it's just like, yeah, screw it. I'm just going to suggest something and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Maybe they decide to go with it and it makes it into the movie. Maybe they'll say that's the stupidest thing I've heard, kid, get out of here, you hold the microphone.
Right. But I mean, again, like what you said, you never know. If I don't go up to God, I don't know. If Trump comes to Arkansas
Mhm.
and he's sitting there people are talking to him, and I see an opportunity to walk up to him. If I don't walk up to him and be like, "Yo, when you get back in the office, I want a job working for you. This is what I've done. Here are my
Mm,
credentials. Give me a job." I'm an idiot.
yeah.
Like that's a giant opportunity that I could.
Yeah.
Why be afraid? What if he
Yeah.
tells you no? You just go back to the same thing you've been doing every day. If he says
Yeah.
yes, congratulations, you now work for the White House or for Trump, whichever
Yeah.
way you want to slice it.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I got my job on the film. Was they had an issue with the union
Oh.
and said they had issues with a union and said, hey, if you have film experience, please email this send something to this email address. And I said, well, I don't have experience, but I get like I was scared to send the email because I was like I don't really like I don't what if they say yes, what if they say no? But I just typed something out and just said, hey, if you need help, like I'm a film student, I can help out with whatever you need, and I just sent it. A week later, I'm suddenly getting a call from the line producer saying, yeah, sure, why not? Come on this movie. And suddenly I got the job, and then I had to overcome fears there. It's just, that whole thing in life in and of itself is overcoming fear, overcoming the fear of no, overcoming the fear of being embarrassed, overcome the fear of people not liking you. That's something I'm still working on. I'm not naturally a confrontational person. I'm not someone naturally adept in stepping out of my comfort zone, but every time I've done it, I've been all the more better for it.
Right. I remember being a kid. The first time I remember overcoming fear, I would always be the first one done with my work. Now, granted, it was like kindergarten, first grade.
Yeah.
But I was always the first one done. But I would never go turn it in first. I would always wait for somebody else to get up, and then I would go turn it in because I didn't want to get up and be the first one done. Everybody's looking at me because back in the day, people were like, "Oh, what's up, smarty pants nerd?" Dirt, dirt. The older you get, the more that it's the other way around because
Yeah.
you realize that person's going to be working at McDonald's till they die. But that was my fear, and now as a 25-year-old, I'm like I was afraid of a 5-year-old calling me a name.
Yeah.
Deathly afraid, like
Yeah.
to the point of tears. But you've got to if you are put in a situation as a kid like that and you never overcome that fear, you end up being the 25-year-old who goes into a Starbucks and screams at the lady saying, "You didn't put extra whipped cream on my coffee. You spelled my name wrong. You gave me 2 nickels instead of 2 dimes." Shut up. Like it's not that that's
Yeah.
it comes out because when you're afraid, that fear turns into anger because you don't know how to overcome that, so you get frustrated and angry and you take it out on everybody. And it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my first memory of overcoming fear was first day of kindergarten. I grew up in Little Rock. I played soccer in Little Rock. Everyone I knew was going to school in Little Rock. And then we moved here to Bryant because, frankly, this is a much better school system, and I'm not under the threat of being shot every day I go to school. No disrespect to my Little Rocksonians or whatever they're called.
Well, in your defense, most of the school shooters are white.
To be fair, I might it might have been me.
You saved yourself from being a school shooter.
Yeah, my parents saved me from growing up to be a school shooter and dying when I was 15.
You wouldn't die. You would just be held captive in a
Well,
jail and then later
yeah.
released because they couldn't prove that you did anything wrong.
No, I would. They actually saved me from being contacted by an anonymous FBI agent, full circle,
Oh, yeah.
in a chat room, and them grooming me to be an alt-right,
FBI agent.
an alt-right school shooter.
Storm the Capitol!
Yeah. But we moved here. I went to kindergarten and I knew no one. Everyone there, they had grown up in the city. They grew up in preschool. They did t-ball together and they all knew each other. And I was deathly afraid. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make any friends. First day of school, we put our backpacks up. The kid who put his backpack in the cubby next to me turns to me and introduces himself. And he's like, "Hey, my name is John." That's not his actual name. I don't want to expose. I don't know. Just keeping everything as vague as possible. Cover my butt as much as possible. He's like, "Hey, my name's John." I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm Garrett." Shake hands, and we become best friends for 2-3 years. Until, well, actually, for 5 years about. Because most of the people I met in kindergarten, we became friends all throughout elementary school. Then we moved to middle school. And then we merged with another school. And everyone knew everyone from that school. I didn't know anyone.
You're like, crap, not
I had to
again.
make friends again. And it got to the point where most of the friends that I have now, I met in middle school. Because everyone went to their groups, and suddenly people are coming in from Oklahoma and Texas and all this. I'm like, shoot, I'll take you. I got no friends.
Right.
Besides Zach. I've been friends with him since kindergarten.
See, I'm lucky, man. I got when I moved here in third grade, uh, I mean, I never left that school. Cooper left a couple of times, but I mean, everybody that I'm friends with now, I mean, we
Mhm.
grew up together. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny to go back and think, like, we used to go play basketball, and me and Jordan would get into a fight because, like, he scored on me, and I didn't
Mhm.
like it, and I got pissed off, so I'd push him down, and then he'd start hit. It was just crap like that. But
Yeah.
I don't have the family that I have today if when I moved to Harmony Grove, if I didn't talk to them.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of what I do and what I have done is based around them. And so
Mm.
I kind of think, that how is my life different if I don't overcome that fear? Like, I don't, I'm so social now. I used to not be that way. I was
Mm.
like the kid that didn't want to talk to nobody. And then I moved here, it's like something went off, like a switch
Yeah.
went off. And so I'm so thankful to God, because when I first moved down here, I hated it because I was leaving all my friends.
Mm.
I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to come down here. And I get down here, and now it's like, by a by a byproduct of meeting them and doing that, I've met you guys.
Mm.
It's all just, one big line, and it's cool the older you get, kind of seeing like how different decisions that you thought were so minor at the time
Mm.
actually end up being a pretty major, like you coming back and working. That I don't think this podcast happens if y'all don't come back after
Yeah.
you left. And I'm glad y'all did, because
Yeah.
that place was a poop show while
Yeah.
y'all were gone, and I don't have anybody to talk to there.
Yeah. To clarify for the audience, we all worked at the same place. Zach and I quit. Well, we started about a week, but like within a week of each other. Then we both quit to do DoorDash for a few months, and then the place we worked at decided they wanted to start investing in delivery, so they asked us to come back, and we did. So that's what he's talking about. We know what we're talking
Right,
about.
right. Yeah, thank you
yeah.
for the clarification.
Yeah, just in case, like, if we didn't come back to the store, this wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have stayed friends at probably as close, or we wouldn't have been as connected. Dang it, I dropped my drink.
No.
But yeah, everything. I mean, everything works for a reason. If you are a Christian and you have a big fear of the unknown, I mean, just go into every situation going, God knows what's going to come out of
God's
this.
got me.
Yeah, God's got this. Like, if I go through trials, that's because He wants to freaking put me under pressure and turn me into a diamond.
Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
Mm-hmm.
God will drag you through that crap if He has
Yeah.
to. If you drag your feet, you're making it worse on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people.
Get the hell up out of there.
Yeah, get your feet moving, man. Like, let that God's saying, let's get it together. He's waiting on you to understand. Like, yes, you trust God and you trust His plan, and what He says goes,
Mhm.
but you make your own decisions. And if you tell God no, He's either going to go find somebody else, or you're going to find somebody else, not elf.
Got
But
hit with
you're going to end up in the belly of a whale. Like, you can't run from God, whether
Mhm.
you're sinning, whether you're hiding, whether you're fearful. You can't. So just buck up.
Yep. I feel like we went way off track. This became a spiritual self-help.
But there's going to be
podcast.
people who listen to this and they're like, you know what? I needed this
Yeah,
boost.
God-
I
God
needed
willing,
to let go of this fear.
Yeah.
And if we can help out one person every time this comes
Mhm.
out, I think that we're doing something awesome. That's what it's about,
Yeah, man. Yeah. I really don't even feel like going back into the political arena. I'm pretty satisfied with that. Like, honestly, because I feel like going back into the FBI stuff and any of that, like, that's just gonna dampen the mood. So instead, I'm going to find one video to play that will leave us up on a white pill. This was a big white pill episode in the midst of the big massive black pill that was Mar-a-Lago.
Oh.
Not like that, man. But to give us some hope for the future, let's play video 6, and hopefully the audio works for that.
What they've been doing to President Trump is political persecution.
Nope. What? Gosh dang it. I guess.
What they've been doing to President Trump is political persecution.
And I'll look at that after the episode. We'll just pull it up on the Google Drive. At the very least, the audience will see something. Our TV froze again. But, I mean, this still has something to do with the whole FBI raid, but I mean, it's a bit of a white pill of hopefully we're going to see some action
What
for this.
they've been doing.
Ooh, a little loud.
Yeah, the audio works on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
President Trump is political persecution. Merrick Garland has abused his position of power as
I forgot to transition it. Hold on.
the Attorney General to politically
We're a professional
persecute
podcast.
Joe Biden's enemies. And the whole purpose of this is to prevent President Trump from ever being able to hold office. So I'm on my way in the Capitol right now, and I'm introducing articles of impeachment on Merrick Garland because we cannot tolerate this in America where our great institutions are welded and abused in such a way to defeat people's political enemies. That's not what this is for, and it should never exist.
So as long as we have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress, like we're still in the fight, man.
That's right.
Hopefully, friggin' AG Garland gets the boot because he approved this whole mess.
But the problem that I have with that, I know how most political positions work. With
Way
who
to bring
replaces
down
who.
our white pill, jeez.
How do you find is the DOJ, the head of the DOJ, is that an elected position by Congress? Is that an appointed position by the president?
I think that's an appointed cabinet position. If
So,
I'm right. Most
Doesn't that mean that like he could literally just put somebody way worse than him there? So
Yeah.
is there not a way for her in that bill to present it and say, hey, when you instead of allowing the president to replace this person, this would be that person's immediate. I don't know. There's got to be a way to prevent just a circle of morons from filing into that position.
just put it into the footnote. I mean, the Democrats sneak crap into
we
their
should
bills all the time. Straight up. I mean, with the
Zach
inflation.
Babs, the new DOJ.
Yeah, the Inflation Reduction Act that they just freaking passed has nothing to do with reducing inflation, and it's all just it's all just environmentalism stuff.
Save the Puppies. You remember the Save the Puppies Act? You know what that was about?
No,
It was
I
about
was probably too young
donating,
for that.
that was the when we left all that crap over there in the Middle East. That's what that was. It said leave all the equipment that's in the Middle East in the Middle East, but it also had something about what Fauci did with the dogs and how he did all that. That's where that all came from. And so it was a bunch of malarkey just to be able to legally leave billions of dollars of equipment in the Middle East.
That's awful.
And you're like, but if I'd be dadgummed if I didn't get on Facebook and see all these people saying, "Save the puppies! How can you not love Save the Puppies? Save the turtles!"
That's the reason they named those bills that.
Yep. You're the morons that they
Yeah.
feed off of.
The reason that veteran bill didn't pass was because they tried to sneak that same exact crap in there, and they're like, "Oh, what? You hate veterans?" It's like, no, we just don't want the economy to implode.
Like, come on, man.
We don't want ESGs to completely control everything we do. Dang. Well, that just put a damper on my white pill. But regardless, God wins.
Amen.
The FBI can suck my balls. Sorry, Grandma, if you're listening to this. But screw the FBI, screw the CDC, screw any three-letter organization that was founded under Woodrow Wilson or in the 20th century, because
The only three-letter thing that works is G-O-D.
Dang, that's good. I like that. I like that. Yeah. I just have an additional thought now. Basically, all these organizations is the bad form of decentralization. They basically decentralize their power into the FBI by granting them new authority, and it just becomes like authoritarian decentralization to create this more complex bureaucracy, so they can put the patsy on this random FBI agent, and DOJ head doesn't have to worry about it because that's an FBI problem. It just becomes like this complex web of bureaucracy that saves the people up top who are really destroying us. Well,
They
now
might
I'm
not-
depressed.
They might not go to jail.
Yeah.
Hillary might not ever see a lick of time, but I promise you one thing. God will have his
Mm-hmm.
way. And when she dies or when Jesus comes back and she gets left here or she has to face her judgment up there, is not going to be pretty for those people.
No.
So that's one thing that we can take joy in, knowing that all the suffering they put us through, they're going to have to endure it tenfold.
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't mean you don't try to pursue it here. You pursue justice here, but you still don't
yeah.
get discouraged.
Don't get discouraged when
yeah.
you see somebody doesn't go to jail, because that's the system is set up to protect these people.
Ultimately, God has the final word.
Yep, and he'll get his. Don't worry about it.
This
Don't worry
country
about
will be saved by him,
it. Or,
and he loves you. He loves us. He loves everybody.
final note from me. What is it? There's a T-shirt that Bryson Gray has that I think I just bought. It says, it says "Promise, not pride," and it's got a picture of a rainbow on it. And I'm going to start wearing it everywhere.
Yes, that's a good T-shirt. I need
Not
to get
to,
that.
this is the first time I've gotten something not to piss people off, but so somebody will come up to me pissed off, and I can say, no. This, remember when God flooded the earth?
Yeah.
And He gave us the rainbow? It's okay for people to wear things that have a rainbow on them and not it be associated with sin, because that's what they wanted. They want to take something that God gave human beings. How many things besides Jesus dying for our sins, and literally everything else in the whole entire world, but that was a promise. It was something that's supposed to be special between God and the people who saw it, and God and the people who are to come. And it represents He's never going to flood the earth again.
Yeah.
And to have an evil deity come around and try and steal it, the fact that it didn't piss all the Christians off back then shows us that they've been sitting on their hands, and they have been going to church just to go to church. They don't go to church to get filled up. When you go to church on Sundays, you take what that pastor says and you take it throughout the week, and you don't be afraid to tell those people what they need to hear, because you might be the only real Christian that they come into contact with.
Yeah. You got to leave a good impression. But also, you brought up the shirts. Literally wearing a shirt is a great way to just kind of push some level in individual people's lives. I have a hoodie that I got from John Doyle's shop. All it is a freaking M4, I think, and it says "Heck off, commie." And I've been wearing. I wore that
I
around.
like that one.
It's first off, I really like the design. I don't usually get a lot of merch or whatever, just because a lot of it's so poorly designed. But I like the design of it, and I was walking around. Yeah, there's gonna be people who give you stink eyes. But I went to a Lowe's store, and I'm talking to a guy. He looks down, sees a T-shirt. He gives me this big smile. He goes, "I really like that." He probably has no idea who made the merch. He doesn't know what exactly that's referencing. But just to see that there's somebody who says, "Yeah, screw communism, screw anything that the elite leftists want to do to mess with our lives," and that's just an encouraging, just small moment of, he's got my back, I got his, we're brothers.
Yep.
Just small moments. Be an encouragement to those who need it, and be a light for change to those who need it.
Because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to wrap up this week's episode of Alt.tistic. I think it's a little shorter than the past couple weeks, but that's fine. We're probably, hovering around an hour 25, hour 26? Cool beans. Didn't know that off the top of my head. I've been checking the time.
I was like, bro, I did not know.
No,
that
I
you
don't
were
have that.
skilled.
I don't have that good of an internal clock. But yeah, this is Alt.tistic, the most retarded political social commentary show on the internet.
You're welcome.
Hosted by this big old retard, Garrett Inman. Co-hosted by this big old retard over here, Davey Gibson. And produced by this big old retard over here, Zach Bav.
Triple R.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you for making it this far. I've neglected to say it the past couple episodes, but subscribe to get our numbers up. Press the like button. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about what we talked about.
In the comments, tell us who you think the cutest is. Because my vote's for Zach.
No, I'm gonna.
He said no.
No. Not like that. Just that's weird. We don't need simps right off the bat.
Just kidding. I was just calling Zach cute.
You just talked about gay people, and now you're.
Well,
dang, you threw off this ending. Yeah, press the like, press subscribe. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us ratings and reviews there. I'm working on getting us on Stitcher and Google Podcasts and all that kind of stuff, but that's a process of just waiting. So for right now, wherever you can find us, follow us.
Yep.
Yeah. We love you guys. We love you retards out there and
All you
non-retards.
retards.
Yeah, we love you retards. See you next week. Mondays, I try to get them out around 2 o'clock. Hope to see you there. Good night.